I think I can safely say that of all the Harry Potter books, The Half-Blood Prince is my least favorite. It's not necessarily bad, but when I think back on the whole series, there is not much about that book that sticks out. Also, it, more than any other, feels like filler before the final action. There's definitely still stuff in the book I enjoyed, but it's not a story I've ever had much interest in revisiting. So I wasn't terribly excited for the movie. Is it any more memorable or compelling? Harry approaches his 6th year at Hogwarts with suspicion when he latches onto the belief that Malfoy is now a Death Eater, something he spends the year trying to prove. In addition, he studies closer with Dumbledore, as the two begin looking into Voldemort's past through various memories for a key to defeat him. He also finds he's excelling at potions for the first time, thanks to both a new teacher who's selected Harry as his favourite, and a textbook that belonged to a student called the Half-Blood Prince. While all these plotlines take place, Harry, Ron, and Hermione navigate their love lives, with the occasional reminder that Voldemort's out there and dangerous. To be honest, I couldn't tell you whether this was a good adaptation or not, but given that whatever it excludes I don't remember from the book anyway, I'll conclude it's probably okay in that regard. A few things I know are embellishments, like the opening scene with the Millennium Bridge and Harry sitting in a cafe for some reason where an older waitress hits on him. Similar as they are in the Muggle world, they are a bit jarring, but I don't mind them for that, as at least it's something different. Some of the other clear additions I don't mind either, like the Malfoy point of view moments, the burning of the burrow, which is quite a major change, and oh no, you've got to be kidding me. Here was your chance to give Tonks more than a blink and you'll miss her appearance, and you replaced her with Luna? Oh! But the thing you can probably gather about this film from the synopsis, and which is maybe its biggest problem, is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince doesn't have its own story. Just about everything that's not build up with a payoff yet to come is padding. Of all the titles in the series, this one's The Half-Blood Prince is the least significant. Harry and his helpful potions textbook is a subplot at best. Only in a couple instances does it in any way drive the story. And isn't the idea of someone being engrossed in an old magical book by a mysterious author a little derivative for Harry Potter? But these are issues that both the movie and book have. How does the stuff I remember best from the original, the trips down memory lane, fare out? I'll admit, I'm a little torn when it comes to the pensive scenes. On the one hand, it's a shame they didn't include more of them, as in addition to providing interesting insight into Voldemort's past, they grew the world more, which as you know I'm a big fan of. But on the other hand, the only two memories the film gave us are the only ones that really matter. The film's depiction of them is interesting. Disjointed, yes, a little rushed, but interesting. I don't really agree with how the movie played young Voldemort as pretty much Damien from The Omen. Harry's supposed to be disturbed by the similarities, and while sinister, Tom Rose should recognizably be a human kid, rather than the Antichrist. I also prefer when Harry was able to be fully in the scene, like in Goblet of Fire. Also, the film never mentioned these were regular classes for Harry. Outside of this stuff, the story was mostly concerned with the romances of the central trio. On the plus side, Ron and Hermione certainly were more than just Harry's sidekicks this time, and the scene where Hermione and Harry admit their feelings for Ron and Ginny is alright. But was anyone clamoring for the plot to focus on Ron and his girlfriend, or Ron obsessing over Ginny's relationships, or Harry's countless doughy-eyed looks at Ginny, or Hermione having to contend with the typical stuck-up prick with the hots for her? Though it's necessary somewhat for the later poison reveal, Ron's love potion bit is just as cringing as in the book. In another movie, this excess focus on relationships wouldn't be as big a deal, but not only is this Harry Potter, but it's at a stage where the grand stakes couldn't be higher. Anytime it cuts to one of these scenes, it feels like a waste of time. Voldemort's replenishing his forces. Why am I being forced to watch Ron talk about snogging? It might have worked if any of the parents had an ounce of chemistry. And yes, that's referring to Harry and Ginny as much as anyone. Daniel Radcliffe tries to play sudden infatuation with her as best he can, but the last time we've seen them together was the end of Chamber of Secrets. And ever since then, Ginny's had almost no screen presence. Of course, that's no one's fault, as a lot of plot needs to be written into these movies, and Ginny's best scenes from the books have never been important enough to make it in. But it doesn't change the fact that the character has almost no identity, and Bonnie Wright doesn't quite have the talent or time to give her one. And so it comes off with a forced relationship you don't buy. The relationship with the most chemistry in this movie is actually Harry and Dumbledore's, both of whom convey a quite believable student-teacher bond. And though this is really the first time we're seeing it, it does feel natural. I think that's because Michael Gambon gives the character a good degree of warmth. He may not quite be Richard Harris, but he has made Dumbledore his own. Another standout is Tom Felton. Malfoy hasn't had a big role since Chamber of Secrets, and Prisoner of Azkaban was the last time he was in any way relevant to the plot. But here he demonstrates his burgeoning skills as an actor, doing really well with Malfoy's insecurity and anxiety being in over his head, but determined to accomplish his task. The scene in the bathroom is really indicative of this, as is the moment he confronts Dumbledore. By the way, Dumbledore implying that Malfoy was a kid who made all the wrong choices was a dick thing to say. And then, of course, there's Snape, and Alan Rickman is wonderful as usual. Surprisingly, though his character given much more meat, Rickman still plays him as stoic and serious. He never raises his voice when he reveals his identity to Harry, or when he makes the unbreakable vow, keeping his true nature and feelings ambiguous. I was pleased to see McGonagall was given a bit more significance, especially considering Maggie Smith was dangerously close to that Filch Flitwick area as joke characters. Bellatrix is okay, even if Bonham Carter spent a little too much time mugging. Her dance over Hagrid's brain hut was a little ludicrous. Both Lupin and Arthur Weasley were given sufficient screen time in the context of the story. Are Lupin and Tonks together at this point? That might be the one relationship I'd actually like to see develop. Hagrid, though, seemed very much like an afterthought. I miss the days when he was a really important character. There was just one major new character for this film, and that was Professor Slughorn. Once again, they really chose the right person in Jim Broadbent, who's excellent at that slightly absent-minded teacher who picks favorites unknowingly being a bit of an asshole for it.
You'd be welcome too, Granger.
Weasley, you can go to hell. I think like Lupin and maybe McGonagall, he's the kind of teacher we've all had at some point. His shame at what he told young Tom Riddle about Horcrux has done really well too, and I like his academic outfit. In fact, you can tell a lot about each new teacher in each film by how they dress. Shout out to the costume designers. As for other newcomers, I like Helen McCrory as Narcissa Malfoy, even though her scene didn't need to make it in the movie. Also, Timothy Spall has the most pointless cameo in the Harry Potter films. We meet Katie Bell in this movie through a plot development that doesn't add up to much. The one-dimensional asshole trying to get into Hermione's pants is just that. Oh, and of course, there's the main reason the romance stuff irks me in this movie. Lavender Brown. Again, this carried over from the book, but I have to address it. What kind of girls did J.K. Rowling know who are this obsessed with and give their boyfriends such sickening pet names? And what boyfriends have put up with that? She's a really awful wet blanket. Unlike any teenage girl I ever knew, she just about ruins an important reveal that someone tried to poison Dumbledore. She's just all-around unlikable, and even gives Luna a run for money in terms of overall annoyance. I noticed the focus to getting a bit more humor in this film, by giving Harry a couple sarcastic responses, for example. There are aspects of the story that are funny, like Dumbledore randomly having to use the loo, and the idea that Harry drugged Ron. I also like the gag where Flitwick tries to avoid Slughorn. But the little jokes don't do much for me. Really? Dragon Balls? However, Hagrid's is the place to be tonight should be a slogan. The visuals are more enrapturing. In addition to the Millennium Bridge scene, I like how the film opens with that slow flashback scene shortly after the events of Order of the Phoenix that sets a mood. Not one the film stays consistent with, but a mood nonetheless. There are some good-looking moments in the scene leading up to and including the burning of the burrow. The Weasley's shop is really flamboyant and creative, though this thing is pretty scary. And Dumbledore's Ring of Fire is magnificent. In fact, most of that sequence is. Like Goblet of Fire, the best part of Half-Blood Prince is its final act. Though I question Dumbledore's logic in endangering Harry's life in this quest, the journey across the lake and the cave is really grim and mysterious. Suspenseful, too. In fact, it reminds me of the Mines of Moria from Lord of the Rings. Gambon is terrific in his pain and horror drinking the elixir, and the creatures that attack them are very menacing. But what the hell is with all this quick cuts to the same shot, Yates? Once they returned to Hogwarts, we had a great confrontation between Malfoy and Dumbledore. And of course, the moment everyone remembers best from this installment, Snape killing Dumbledore. It is executed very powerfully too. Unlike Sirius's death in the last film, this was a character who had been an integral part of the series since the very start, and a symbol of security. It's not hard to identify with Harry's rage, even going so far as to use that slashing curse he earlier accidentally used in Malfoy in another really good scene. His horror and confusion at what he'd done was impeccable. And it's a very nice, worthy moment when everyone raises their wands in solidarity for Dumbledore, as well as the discovery that the locket found in the cave was a fake. The message that sometimes people die for nothing comes across very well. And now Harry's wondering who took the real Horcrux. R.A.B. I hope you're paying attention to that throwaway line from Slughorn at the beginning. I think I figured it. A lot of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is showing us what Hogwarts life would be like for its heroes if they didn't get up to adventures every year. It's monotonous enough, but sadly it doesn't have the magic lessons to make it fun. Though it ends pretty strongly, very little leading up to it is engaging or enjoyable. And even the elements of that last act, the Horcruxes, Snape's treachery, R.A.B., are all teasers for developments that will take place in Deathly Hallows. There's enough good in that final act, as well as some performances and visuals to keep the movie from being terrible, but what can I say? It's the weakest of Rowling's novels, and thus far the weakest of the film series. The one thing it does do is prepare you for what's to come in the finale. It feels like it's been a while since the Dark Lord came back, and at last, we're building that big confrontation between Harry and Voldemort that will decide the fate of their world. Though we have one more movie to get through before that. I wonder what secrets past students have left in my secondhand textbooks. Wow, that's a lot of penises.